There are always many things we want to do in life, but we are so clueless on where to start and how to do it. And many people would just stay as where and who they are. What is the saddest thing is they accept and get used to it after a while. However, if you ask them deep down inside, we know many are helpless and they are not happy with the current condition. I used to share this in my trainings. We don't say it out doesn't mean we don't acknowledge it. And also that doesn't mean the ugly truth doesn't exist. I might be addressing something very mean, something people hate to talk about. But this is one of the truth in life, in fact, in many people's life. I went through the same thing just like anyone else, but I choose to make the change. Yes, I have to admit that the change is painful, but I rather choose it because I just do not want to be painful for the rest of my life. How would you like to explore if there's a given light and formula for you to escape from the situation, be it being an employee or even in business? Some might think that they're dealing with it well, but again in life, we are not supposed to treat working as exchanging time with money. We need self-development, career advancement, or knowledge enhancement in order for us to move forward or to get out from whatever situation that we are stuck in at the moment. If you would love to regain and reignite the you that you have lost your respect, the you that you used to get respect from, the you that you used to be proud of, or even the you that you used to being ignored by others, wait no more. You are your brand of yourself. You can attract what you want when you brand your brand right.
Good afternoon. This is Malar from Hearts&Minds Development Center. Welcome and thank you for joining us. Yes, you were right. I was just checking out if my image is going to be just right for today's topic because, as you would know, our topic is image and well-being, right? And, I just wanted to make sure that I have the right image today because I have my beautiful friend whom I think is the queen of image building, not just externally but internally. And I'm so happy and excited to welcome my dearest Dr. Wendy Liew. Welcome, Wendy.
Hi. Thank you so much for the generous introduction, though.
No, I just needed to do the last minute Insta check to see, okay, am I like just right for Wendy kind of thing? Even though you don't need it, so I thought, just keep the image there, Wendy. Wendy, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you. I love you.
I love you too. Yes.
Oh, thank you. So, got it. So, thank you so much for saying yes. And you know what? The first person who signed is the other part of the person who's missing. Alia is here. She went missing for a couple of weeks because she was busy. And so it's so good to have her here. And Sundar, hi, good morning. Thank you for joining us. Sundar has been one of our friends whom I've never met, who's been joining us on a weekly basis, right? So I know like there's so many questions I want to ask you, right? But before that, I just want to ask you one question. What is this Dr. Wendy all about? I know you're not a medical doctor.
Definitely. Actually, this is a question that many people ask me, and even, I have some requests, from LinkedIn. They keep me, they ask for medical advice, ask me to actually refer them, to what and what doctor and stuff like that. In fact, this is not, I am not a medical doctor. Okay, so actually a lot of people...
You're not the real doctor.
No, definitely not.
So tell me, what doctor are you?
Okay, in fact, there are 4 different types of doctorate, for your info. Okay, of course, the first one is the PhD, whereby it's very much into the academic, okay, PhD, yeah, not the permanent head damage. This is actually how people term it. Okay. So of course, the second type is actually from the DBA, okay, and the third one is actually DPS. This is what I'm actually having, a doctorate in professional studies, whereby we are actually going into a real case study after many years, into an industry. You can actually drill down into what you want. And of course, the last one is the honorary COSIA. Okay, so that one is actually given from a university for some of the course that you have contributed. Okay, so in fact, now when I first started, thinking of like, hey, why not I can actually enhance and going further into what I'm doing. I have searched many different universities, and none of the university is offering anything related to what I do. There is no image PhD and stuff like that. And of course, I thought of like, why I want to go for a DBA, just for the sake of getting a doctorate. Yeah. So that's how I keep finding, and I actually got one finally, whereby I can drill down into what I do for the past decade, and I find that it will be meaningful, yeah, to get something that is something that I really passionate about. So that's how all this about lah.
So what is it? What is the one that you're passionate about where you got your doctorate from? What was your
Okay. Yes, I find that it's very different. Maybe I should actually tell you, how I have to, change my profession into being an image consultant. I am a vein port since young, vein port as in like, a lot of time, many people don't know, when I was younger, okay, I am from a very humble family. I think many of y'all would actually already know that. Even going for tuition, I will pre-plan my budget a week before. Okay, I will do make so my mom just couldn't tahan me. We just had one of our Go AICI Third Asia conference. So one of the speaker was actually talking about, a lot of time our parents expect us to do like that, but actually we just want something simpler. But I actually straight away when I read it, right, I reply, the chat, and I say I'm actually the opposite one. My mom always expect us to go for something simpler, but I was the person who is like, wow, I think I can actually dress better though for that particular things and stuff like that. So I am the vain pot. I tell you what, I plan my budget. Then I even remember which and which budget I wear before I try to, put it for other event. So when I grow up, then of course going to the university, and this is not what I want. I think luckily my parents are actually not here, but of course they know. A lot of time we are just fulfilling what they want us to be, not what we want to be. But of course, when I wanted to go into the profession or the industry that I want, they couldn't afford that. So no choice. Like, ended up, if it is no choice, then I have to just follow what they have planned for me or what they can afford for me. So right after that, then I was actually in a bank. Okay, in a bank is like, working
so
there.
what did you study, Wendy?
I'm actually at BBA. I major finance, but my finance sucks though.
Yeah, well, you're running a business today. Perhaps I'm sure that would have contributed
Okay,
to.
okay.
I did
Yes.
company secretarial. Can you imagine me as a company secretary?
Wow. Yes.
If I had practiced, I know I would be in jail because I would have missed out all the deadlines. Okay, but never mind. Coming back to you, but it
Yes.
does help, right? Okay.
Exactly. So that's why I find that it's actually something not I really want. So might as well I start to hop, into this and that. I think I've actually changed many different things in my life. Like even after I go for my image consultancy course, and I also went into property for a very short time and stuff like that. I am someone who are not into routine, I cannot tahan routine, If you ask me to, going to the same place to work, meeting the same people, I cannot tahan. Luckily, I'm still having one husband as of
I was
now.
just going to say that.
I haven't changed husband, but this is something that I find that, life is so short to be stay, at a place, meeting the same people. There are so much more for us to explore. Yeah.
Yeah. We sound very similar. You at least planned your clothes ahead. When I was with my girlfriends, right? We used to parade to each other. We literally had a a show going on, right? Like, what we are going to wear for the whole week, And
Wow.
yeah, that was like one of my best moments, because with your limited collection, you've got to be so creative.
Great.
And the
Yeah.
three of us lived in a house and we would parade for each other. And that's like really one of my best moments in life that I anchor. In fact, one of my friends, who used to patiently watch me parading for her, had passed on, and that's the memory that I really really hold on to. So I am so glad, you're not the only vain one. But which brings me to the question, right?
Mm,
To want to look good,
mm.
is
Okay.
that vanity?
Okay. Now, if you really ask me, I have to say that initially it was though. Initially it was. But as we age, we realize that it goes beyond that. And as I actually having more and more different customers, yeah. So let's not talk about the corporate clients, because when I first started about 12 years ago, mostly doing small scales workshops is actually all personal client, okay, and the public client. So this group of people, I find that for those who engage into like personal coaching and things like that, there are only three main reasons why they come. Okay, the first one, unfortunately, it is actually a very ugly truth, but it is it is happening, is that the husband is having affair. 80%. Okay, the second group is actually those who are like having some advancement in their career. They want to look the part. Okay, and the third one is that they feel like after so many years being the same old them again and again, they want to refresh, they want to change in how they look and how they portray themselves. So I find that after some time, it's not only about the vanity anymore. I mean, all these things, yeah. We had a chat last week, with Ruby, and a few more invited guests. It's very much into body positivity. Okay.
Mm.
Now, sometimes, yeah, we are chasing after a frame or a standard that is by others. It is not for us, And even people going under the knife, there must be a reason, for that. It's no longer about vanity. Sometimes it's even like peer pressure. You get what I mean? Or sometimes, we are doing something on ourselves is for the sake of others. So I find that it's actually a bit sad. Of course, no offense to those who find that, vanity is a part that is for self enhancement, but we must be able to draw a line, so that we will not go overboard to do something that is not supposed to. Yeah.
Mm. I want to go back to the three reasons women come to you, and then you tell me what are the reasons men come to you, because that one I'm more interested, okay? Because women, we can like, yeah, find out from our friends, right? So tell
Yeah.
me. So, I mean, I've experienced this myself with my circle, right? Because very often when your partner, leaves you, the immediate thing you think about is, oh, I'm not attractive anymore. I'm not physically attractive, right? Right, wrong, yes, no, I'm not sure, but that would probably be a different conversation altogether, right? And here I want to come and reinvent myself externally to beautify, so that I become attractive to one person whose attention I'm now longing for, right? So in your experience, right, of this women who came to you because the husband was with someone more attractive, right? And let's just take that as a truth that they believe in, because we know that's seldom the truth. All right, I mean, there's just so much of research on affairs that it's never a physical thing, right? But let's put it now, when these women come over to you and they go through this whole transformation process or whatever experience that you give, now what do they go back as? Number one. Number two, how many of them actually, like, when they get transformed and the whole world is saying you're looking good, how many of them actually get back the husband? Like, some, yeah, tell me what's your experience around it.
Okay. Now, in fact, for those who went through the whole program, they will finally realize it's
Mm,
not just about appearance. Okay,
mm,
it's
mm,
very much into having the self love, okay, and self-worth. Yeah, we had an initial conversation with one of my client, until I feel so bad for her, as in, like, when she explained on the circumstances and stuff like that, on how the husband even suggested her, I think you should do something with yourself. Hey, that is actually very hurtful though. If someone, or if your spouse is telling you, like, you should actually do something with it. And to the extent the husband is not bringing her out for any of these social events and stuff like that. So this particular example, I find that is good for me to share it out. I saw Datuk actually text, like, it's lack of confidence. It's beyond the confidence whereby she is actually having the inferiority, in herself. So this couple, they started off no money. Okay, so both of them are working so hard. They are developer, working so hard. So the wife is actually doing so much for the husband. So after a decade of striving for what they want, they thrive. So finally they are actually rich and stuff like that. And that's the time, the husband started to pick on her. You should actually do this. You are dumb. You are now with my friends. You just keep quiet. So when the wife is trying to chat, or participate in any of the conversation, they say, you shouldn't say this, you should learn from this person and stuff like that. So when she actually told me the stories, I teared, and because she was crying. So I was like, oh gosh. So to her, she thought of, like, I need to look beautiful. But in fact, she need more than that. It's not how you look, that gives you the confidence. Because chasing after external stuff, yeah, it will never end. It will never end. So of course, after she gone through the program, she finally understands a lot of times the value. How our self worth is not from others; it's actually from herself. So she developed, the very much in how she should behave, should carry herself, and how she should actually communicate better. Now, many people will say that a woman will look attractive from their appearance, but a lot of time, yeah, when you have brain, when you carry yourself well, that is way much sexier, okay, than glowing skin.
So I'm already feeling a little bit sexier.
You are. Exactly.
Sorry, I'm assuming people like my brain.
Hey, I tell you what. So for those who are actually listening, I sometimes I find that, a lot of people will say, "Oh, you look good." Actually, I prefer you tell me that I'm bright. You are smart. I think that is a better compliment. Of course, being a vain pot since young, I take care of how I look. But
Right,
actually, along the way, right, looking good is actually a requirement, to me lah. This is actually just my little
right,
little
right.
world. But actually, how I should look at it is that every one of us, especially a woman, we must have our own opinion, though. We must actually portray ourselves like you are who you are. You cannot judge me like, oh, your skin is not good and stuff like that. But that can be enhanced. That can be enhanced. But that shouldn't be a ruler for you, okay? To tell me you are not good enough. There are so many women leaders they are very successful, but to them, looking good, so long you look neat, so long you are okay, then that is good enough. So I focus more on a wholesome thing lah, like you say, because I actually love your program. I mean, your these things, yeah. Being whole, being me, is nothing is enough. I shared, my first question answer, yeah, for Ruby session last week is that no matter how slim you are, how good your skin is, yeah, every woman will pick, yeah, I fat already lah, I have this one, I have this one, my skin not good, I have pimples, never ending one. But in fact, they look so beautiful already. Even my own relative call me, hey Wendy, I want to go to this place and do this and that. I said, no lah, what you want to do? You are so beautiful already. But this is something never end, So I rather we fulfill ourselves internally.
Nice,
You,
nice.
you are enough lah, something like that.
This is why I absolutely love you. But I'm going to echo some of the things that you said. So I just want to say this, right? My experience. So when I what I realized is this, right? Sometimes I would write this article or post, which is like from the bottom of my heart, right? And then people don't really like it, like. And then I put one photo, especially if it's filtered. Oh my goodness, the number of like I get. And then I can have this article, but then I know people haven't read the article because they say, you looking gorgeous, and I really want to kill myself at it. I think as my brain went missing, right? But I mean, it seems like that seems to be important, and I will say that I hear that more from women than men, right? So uh, when I put on weight, the when I meet other women, that's the first thing. Say, "Hey, you put on weight, you lost weight. What are you?" So it's so. I don't know. That's why I don't find men my enemies at all, right? And Gerald is saying something really interesting. He said we should whack the husband, right? But I really don't think it's about whacking the husband or I think it's not a men versus women thing. I mean, men also put on weight, right? But we don't go around when we meet a guy and say, "Hey, you got tummy already? Are you, pregnant? Are you doing this? And are you do?" We don't do that to men, but we do that to women, and women do that to women more, right?
Yeah.
That's been my experience, number one, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
and I think we really got to like stop blaming external parties and especially men. Get our act together and say, let me see whether I am happy with myself first, and what does that mean for me, right? Now, but I want to tell you this, right? My experience of beauty with myself and with other people, right, I'm full of myself. I just love looking at myself because I want to be my most favorite person. But what I have realized is this, and I share this with some people who are very close to me. When I like a person, I just find them absolutely beautiful. I so and when so I mean I find you absolutely beautiful, and I really don't. I think your inner beauty, it's being expressed through your external body, and when we are in sync, I just feel you so beautifully. That's what I realized, because there are people where I fall out of love, right? That means you and I have like, ugh, right? And then I realized that I don't find them good looking. And I also find that about myself. When I act out of character,
Yeah.
I mean, I do. I make mistakes. I do silly things, and I'm not proud of myself. When I look at myself in the mirror, and I've taken photos of myself, I don't feel beautiful, right? And so I think we say beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. I think it's really your whole self energy coming through, right? Which brings us to the topic of, very often when we talk about image, what are we talking about? Are we talking about something we want the world to see, or are we talking about the person we are, and to congruently show up who we really are? So, what is image?
Okay.
Wendy, before you go into your deep answers, let me read some of these wonderful friends who have said some things. Alia, before we go to Alia, I always like what Cheryl says. Cheryl
Yeah.
says, how I struggle with that too. This is why I'm constantly reinventing and doing projects. So I'll just read Cheryl's one. What is so important? Yes, we spoke about it in self-love, Cheryl, and you will have an article coming out because I learned so much. Now Cheryl says something really important. She says, "Agree, this show is so important." Cheryl, I'm assuming you're talking about being whole, being me, right? So thank you, because I'm thinking you should stop end of the year. Now you're making me rethink it. Cheryl also says this interesting stuff. She said, "I never put photos of myself unless I'm with someone else." Cheryl, I'll be very curious to find out why you have to be with someone else. Is it because you think they make you look good? Because I was sharing about being in the golden cage, right? You go into a cage because you think the cage bring value to you. So tell us more, Cheryl, and thank you for saying that. And then, okay, the men, okay, the Gerald, of course, he's a feminist, so he said, whack the husband. All right, Nate says, no, men also have these things, only we don't express. Bottling up It's an honor. You got this. Hey, Nate, thanks for saying this. Tell us more so that we know you're also human. Nate is a nice, good friend of mine.
Yes.
Hui-san says women are hard on women sometimes. That's
Yes.
what she says. And I totally, for me, I find a lot more pain that's been received from women than men. Yeah.
Yeah.
I find people good looking when I like or love them. Yes, Cheryl. And that's why you always find me gorgeous. Alia says we need to look and focus on what we are happy and proud of ourselves rather than keep finding flaws and faults. One can tell when those around us comment how genuine these comments are, and if it's constructive, destructive, or just jealous. Actually, I like when women are jealous of me because then I know I'm one notch up, right? And they're trying to. Okay, let that pass. Gopalan says, hello, it is good to have a good exterior and interior, but a good exterior without a good interior is really bad. And I just want to expand that a little bit to say that, I find that when I'm not feeling great inside, it always shows up on my skin.
Yep.
And so when I'm meeting people and I see that, their skin is different, right? That's one of the questions I really pause to say, tell me really how are you? Right? Now, going back to now, we've taken care of our wonderful audience. So what is image, Dr. Wendy?
Okay, very good question. Of course, first of all, I really want to tell you, or I can actually feel like how much you love me, because I remember there was one time we are doing a Zoom, just for discussion. I was wearing a Koyak Rabak T-shirt at home, and you say, "Wow, you're so beautiful." Remember, I was wearing one of
Yes,
my.
yeah, you told me it was. I thought you looked fresh, but honestly, I mean, I know that I have very few people who are not beautiful in my circle because I'm very blessed to only be able to attract beautiful people. I think the not so beautiful one automatically get discarded and never enters my circle. So I mean, really, that is really my experience, and like I've told you, I'm very grateful that our path has crossed, Wendy, right? And I pray we spend more time together. Now
Yeah.
let's get to the image.
Yes, likewise. Now, I actually heard about something you talk about energy. Okay. So, in fact, yeah, if you really want to actually link the image and energy, in fact, it is though. Now,
Mm,
and when we talk about image, yeah, most of the people always focus on the exterior, whereby we talk about that as appearance. Now, but
mm,
in fact, I cannot deny it because as an image consultant, I find that I cannot deny that the importance of image because it's very visual. When we talk
mm,
about the impression, 55% is actually what is being seen. Okay, but how can we tweak the appearance on creating the right perception? So it is not so much on wearing as according to your body proportion, and stuff like that. I know that is the fundamental of image. Yeah. Some people even ask me, hey, if you don't actually talk about that, yeah, or if you anchor it into another space, will you have less business or not? To me, it's not about whether less business or no business, because we have to actually really bring out the best of these people on how can they find the real alignment within themselves. Okay, I rather we focus on the alignment, the first alignment that we need in order for us to get a proven result, or proven image, is how they align themselves internally and externally. I've
mm,
seen so many, right? They feel themselves bad, I'm not pretty, I'm not bright, and a lot of things, they're shy, they're introvert and stuff like that. But they are trying their very best to put up, like they do a lot of things which out of their expectation as well. So this will not fulfill them internally because this is not them. Okay. So when we talk about image, the real image is an alignment of you inner image, okay, with your visual image and your assumed image. If you want how people assume you, if you want to create how people want to perceive you, you build that image. Now, let's say, for example, this person, they are not corporate leaders, they are not, maybe they're just a usual executive or whatnot, okay, for example. So their image, they want people to perceive them, okay, maybe it's a decent, they look professional and stuff like that. So this is good enough. We just need to create that image. You do not need to actually go beyond that, because once you go beyond that, you feel suffocating, because you are trying to push yourself into something you are not, unless you are ready to go for that one. How I look at it, image is a long-term thingy, it's a long-term thingy whereby we must be happy with it. Looking good is okay, but it's actually after looking good, you really happy or not? You ask yourself lah, after look good, so what?
Mm.
So people ask me
Do you
nowadays,
do you feel as good as you look?
okay, yes, okay. There was actually one time we had an activity in the class too. So she rated herself, I'm shy, I'm simple, or whatnot lah. So in that activity, we even, it's a 360 game. We asked their colleagues to actually rate them. So one of the colleague actually rate her as professional, powerful. Then she said, no, 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 this is not me. I'm not like that. And she behaved like suddenly like, hey, So everyone burst out of laugh. Is hey, why like that? I'm actually saying that you're professional. I said,
Good thing.
no, no, it's not me. It's not me. So why is it so? So she has been keeping up, kononya to be professional, to be like that, because the work requirement, yes. But she is suffocating, she say, I'm actually struggling to be like this, every day to work. And even we have some of the companies, but of course that one is very much into the beauty industry, whereby she say, I tell you what, every day, I'm struggling. And she left within a year. She said, I cannot cope with it anymore. Every day is a stressful day. Not stressful, it's not because of the work. It's because to keep up with the peer pressure,
Pressure.
the colleagues.
Right.
Like you
Right.
mentioned, why today you are like that? Your hair so dry, this and that. So to them, it's like, wow, kanchong, already. I have to now. I have to buy a new clothes. Why you wear this one for so many days? Already you still wearing? Ah? Wow. So all these little things that she said, oh, I cannot tahan already. So that's why actually when you talk about the real image is in fact an alignment, yeah, of all these things. But of course, in short image, we have the A, B, C, and D. I know all image consultant know this. It's actually, it starts from your appearance. Then after that is your behavior. If your behavior is not good, I tell you what, no matter how beautiful you are, you don't look beautiful at all, because you behave really not okay. Okay. And then the third one is how you communicate with others. Okay. And of course, because after COVID, I think the digital space is now more important. So
Nice.
it's from A, B, C, and the D is our digital presence.
Okay. So, going back to all that you have said, right? Would it be fair for me to say that, because I love the idea of what I call ASK, right?
Mm.
I think first and foremost, if you want the alignment of your own image,
Mm.
right? You are a person, and what people see is images
Mm.
of you in
Yeah.
different circumstances, different places, according to the roles that you play, right?
Mm.
So, first and foremost, I think it seems to me that we really need to be first be aware of who I really
Yeah.
am,
Mm.
and how am I going to show up who I am in the different spaces and roles in a congruent way. Now,
Yeah.
once I know that, I now need to learn skills. And
Mm.
these skills are probably what comes as secondary, which people look for: what color to wear, what kind of hair do I, do, what kind of glasses I wear, because all of that creates and sends a message about perception of who you are,
Mm.
right? If I want to, if people always say that, I look too young, then, I know my friends, my guy friends who used to have gray hair just to look older, for example. When you're young, you want to look older. When you're older, you want to look younger, right? So that's the skill part. And I think the third part that I often talk about is the knowledge, right?
Mm.
Do I really know what, how, where, when, and stuff like that? And I think just having all of this together, right, puts us in a space where the image that the world sees of you is really the image that you want to show up in the world, which is true to who you are.
Yeah.
Is what I'm getting. So, like, did I summarize it okay?
Yes, yes. Actually, you are fast, but I'm sure that this one is actually proof that great mind thinks alike.
Ah,
You
we
have
won't
some.
do the second part.
Yes. Now, actually, when we talk about ABC just now, we have two sets of ABC. The first
Mhm.
one is how we use our appearance, behavior, and communication, and the second set is actually awareness, branding, and connecting. So when we talk about awareness, yeah, I really, really agree with you. Now the problem of a lot of people in this world is that they do not even know that they have problem, or even that they are aware, right? So they are not sure, like, where is my problem, what or which part should I work on, and stuff like that. So ended up, it is still back to the square. Nothing happened, nothing changes. Now everything must actually start from awareness. Once we are aware where is our leaking buckets, which part
Mm.
I need to improve so that it can actually work for my advantage, or how it helps me in development. And right after that, only we talk about how should we brand ourselves accordingly. Okay, to see which part that we need to fill up. Okay, and right after that, the C is actually connecting. How are we going to use back all the ABCs, before that, and connect with people successfully? Yeah.
Nice, nice. So now that brings us to, really, is there a difference, or what are the similarities between, because we talk about image, and very often image is really what are you looking like on the outside, like what is your advertisement about you all about, right?
Mm,
So that's what
mm,
we're thinking, right? And then now the buzzword for both individuals and organizations seem to be branding. And then now
mm,
we are into like personal branding. How do you brand yourself so that you become a brand and of course charge higher, right?
mm.
So help us understand, what is there any similarities? Are they the same or are they different? But as you do that, let me read out some comments which I
Okay.
think is important. Okay, Nimala Baskaran, my being whole, being me, good friend says, "Good day, haha, funny la Mala, you only attract beautiful people." Good discussion. So Nimala, now you know why I attract you in my life. She's an amazing friend whom I've just met, and who checks in with me and checks on me and has loved me for whatever reason, right? So
Mm.
Nim, thank you so much. Cheryl says, I won't post a picture of myself unless it relates to my post specifically. I hardly ever feel it relevant to post a picture of myself. How does it relate? Is what she's asking herself. Also, don't want to attract the wrong
Oh.
attention. All right. But my question for Cheryl is that you may not want to attract the wrong attention, but could you be missing out on the right attention that you're missing out just because you're afraid of the wrong attention? Because there will always be people who are. Moving on. Cheryl, when I was younger, she said I used to dress older, big blazers, so I look older. I was the youngest lecturer back then. If not, people treat me definitely. Yeah, for sure. Oh, we have another man on the roll who's telling us. Gerald says, I'm definitely not an expert on image, right? But I believe when one loves themselves wholeheartedly, kind, loving, and honest to others, and always be a better version of themselves every day, the confident level builds up and that reflects to the world. Okay, he's talking about himself now. And yeah, you will never make everybody happy. Gopalan says he loves your BCD, really good. And what else? Daryl says Nirmala also likes your BCD. And she says, Malar, really question is K4. Yes, thank you very much. That's a compliment. Another friend say, love the chat. Both smile, bring the whole smile. We'll figure out who's that person, right? So
Yeah.
now tell us, because they like the chat, they laugh, like our laugh. What is the connection or the difference or similarities between image and branding,
Mm,
personal
branding.
branding?
Alright. Okay, branding is actually the biggest scope. Okay, and image is a part of the branding. Okay, so I always actually say that, branding, this word, branding ka personal branding is a word that is overused, misused, and abused. So when we talk about branding, the scope is huge, but of course, in short, yeah, branding is actually an identity. How you position yourself, how you brand yourself, so that you create an identity for yourself. Now, how branding starts, in fact, years ago, it is used in a farm. People are actually having, sheep, cow, and a goat and stuff like that. Okay, so they have these farm stocks. they are putting label on each of these animals so that they can differentiate, them. Okay, so that's how the branding starts. So when we talk about branding, if you ask me, is actually very much into an identity. Okay, and this identity is powerful, whereby this identity is not only the identity of yourself, and it is so powerful until it gives identity of the people who use the product. Okay, so for example, if I ask, yeah, how many of you are iPhone user? Okay, so then some people might say I am. And how many of you are Samsung user? There are a lot of people. So I'm actually Samsung. And you find it very funny, simple things just like phone, people will even fight about that. I tell you what lah, this one's so good, this one the color better lah. So the way they say it, as if like what, you thought Samsung or iPhone your father's company, man. You get what I mean or not? So you don't even get a single commission from there, but the way you talk about it, wow, full of compassion. I tell you what, must use, must buy, and stuff like that. Okay, so meaning to say, if your brand is so powerful until the identity is no longer just about you, even the users feel proud when they're using your products. Okay, so even let's say us as a human, because a lot of time, yeah, people forget that we are a brand. Okay, we are a brand, like it or not, whether you are doing it intentionally or not. Okay, so people will still have a brand for you. Okay, so once the brand is strong enough, you create a presence. Okay, what's your brand presence? How people actually, if you ask yourself or ask your friend, okay, you just list a few simple description. Let's say, for example, who is the loudest person that you know? See, if you have a group of common friends, see which name you all will name. Who is the quietest? Who is the smartest? Who is the most generous? Who is the stingiest?
Right.
Right. So the name who actually come out, that is actually called a top of mind. Okay. So meaning to say, you are unconsciously branding yourself, become the most the stingiest, or the brightest, the smartest. That is actually a brand, because that become your identity. You get what I
Right.
mean? If you ask your children, okay, describe mommy, huh? If you say my mommy a naggy, huh? My mama control freak, yeah, lah. Meaning to say, in the heart and mind of your children, you are like that, and that is your brand. Okay, because
So,
actually,
so Wendy, so this is cute because I'm not going to ask people here who's the loudest. They might not know my name. Okay. But if someone says, if you want to say, Malar, you're the intelligent one, you can put it down, okay? But the truth is, I did not ask the question. But Wendy, so what you're saying is really interesting. So what you're saying is that, so I like the part we talk about image, and when you talk about branding, we're talking about how you're showing up and how people are experiencing you, right? Your brand, how consistently you're showing up, because when you consistently show up in a particular way, that becomes your brand anyway.
yeah.
All right. So is this personal branding that we're talking about, is it about, because we know in businesses, the question we ask in corporate branding is that, what is the consistent experience that I want my clients to have?
Yes.
It is a consistent experience, right? But when it comes to relationships, right, and personal branding, as a person, people are having a consistent experience about us, and that becomes our brand in their mind.
Mm. Yeah.
Now, and sometimes we call this feedback, and I don't like the word, all right? Right, but that's how they are experiencing us. But if a whole group is experiencing us in a same way, that's surely some truth, right? How does that connect, and what do I do when I don't think that is my presence or branding that I want to bring about?
I so love you, lah. You are actually very clever. Seriously.
Thank you. I'm waiting for that. Thank you.
I tell you what. Okay. Recently, I have actually someone asked me to write a feature story. I on how to build social media and stuff like that. I give them something deeper, but they ask me something very surface again. Okay. I always find that things have, if you don't drill down, you cannot get the real answer. But back to your question, when we talk about the connection, this is actually where the missing gap or the leaking bucket happen. Now, in life, yeah, we always ask, sometimes we have a lot of doubts like, why you never understand me? Even spouse, I have to say that, okay, even to our spouse who has been actually with us for so many years. And sometimes we wonder, why you never understand me? I change or you have changed. You get what I mean? So, and even let's say, for example, in an organization or even within friends, yeah, sometimes you will be surprised or depressed or feel upset is because what you experience is not what I want to portray. That is actually where the gap happened. Okay, but that's how we have to drill down. Now we are talking into internal image. It is no longer about the external. But when we talk about expressing ourselves, yeah, it boils down into your brand identity and your brand value. Yeah.
Mm,
So you get what I mean? Because
mm,
branding, you have to have a okay. So I should actually break it down like that. There are three types. Of course, the first one is branding, marketing, and sales. Okay. So most of the time, people are focusing into the marketing and sales. And they thought these two is the branding. Okay. But the branding, you have to go as according, okay, a long line with your identity, your brand identity. Okay. And the brand identity is also leads to your brand value and your brand voice. The brand voice is how people perceive you, how you design your brand that people experience you. You get what I mean? So I hope that I answer your question. When we talk about a consistent experience, okay, might not be the brand that people want.
mm.
You get, yeah.
So, so I mean, in the branding work that we do from so one of those things that we do when we're doing culture work and branding work is that that's the definition we're talking about. And my favorite definition about your brand, right, is your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room,
Yeah.
because people can say all the nice things when you're around,
Yeah.
right? And which
Yeah.
is why I enjoy gossips, right? When gossips come back to me, I just love it because it's like, oh my goodness, that's how they're experiencing me, right? I mean, it hurts if it's negative, but obviously, I have showed up that way and given them that experience. And if I'm getting that consistent feedback, there's surely some truth to it. Painful, but true, lah, right?
Mm.
Yeah. So off the record, I can tell you all the negative stuffs that I hear, right? Because in front of me, of course, people are saying nice things, right? But we need to contemplate that if the brand experience that we are having about us is consistent, that's how we're showing up. Number one. Now, the other thing that's really very interesting, because it seems to me, what we seem to be doing externally for brands as to the businesses and organization connects back in this case to also my personal identity, because what we're doing is that your brand identity is your ad for how you differentiate yourself, and so you're
Mm.
creating that experience. But
Mm.
if you create an experience which is different from who you really are, that means your personal identity, you're going to fall short, because how long you're going to fake it until you make it is very tiring. So you will
Yes.
have moments where you fall, and that's when you're going to have a brand failure, just like any businesses. Am I right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
what, yeah. So what you are basically, doing with personal branding is you are helping people if there is a gap.
Mm.
You're helping them to recognize how to bring that together, because when you bring that together, then people will continue to have a consistent brand experience about you, which
Yeah.
increases your presence, which
Yeah.
increases your voice in the market and the whole lot, and then you get to charge higher lah, hopefully, correct, for your services.
Yes.
Okay.
I, I
All
have
right. Is
to
there
agree.
anything else you want to add? Because I want to actually pay a bit of attention to men. There are a couple of men who have come. So, because I think a lot of times we talk about image, branding, and all of that, it tends to have somehow or other be focused with women, right?
Yeah.
And somehow or other, when I do a personal development course, and if I did, say, for example, an image, the image program will always have more participants than the personal development
Mm.
program for some reason. But so tell me what else you want to say, because I want to pay a bit more attention to image, personal branding, and men, because we are in the month of October, and the whole idea of doing this is about well-being. So we want to see how that connects, right? So, is there anything else that you want to tell us about, insights on personal branding that you want to leave the audience with?
Okay, so like you mentioned, in fact, I want to say something so that the men also do not feel left out. Now, when we talk about for women who actually look into image and branding, it's actually very much into fulfilling mostly on the appearance, for example. Okay, so this is actually how people perceive, or in fact, most of the time, I have to say it's a yes. Okay, so when men comes, for image or personal branding, it's very much into the fulfillment of themselves in the career building. They want to feel useful. Okay, so far, the male client that I have mostly are actually someone who is trying to fill the gap on them performing better, okay, and also to be in another circle of life. Okay, so because yesterday we talked about this during one of the training, whereby we actually talk about, the higher we climb in the career ladder, the higher we climb, you will find that you need different sets of skills. Okay, you need to appear differently. Okay, but hardly women are really focusing into this part. Okay, even though it is, but still it falls back into the appearance part. Okay, so for men, a few things that I would like to actually say is that, in fact, for men, most of the men focus into not appearance, but Malaysian men. Even they are also, it's just a handful. So for me, for men, yeah, looking the part is important. Okay, looking the part is important because if you want to create, yeah, a certain perception, okay, that part is missing. Okay, that part is missing, especially when throughout the journey of climbing, right? So the part that is actually very much missing is that how can us, yeah, give you a perception at a glance. Now I know a lot of people will ask me back the question about Steve Jobs, or okay, this is a common question.
Karen.
Okay, so please, actually, I feel like I want to address this is because you see, a lot of people ask me, hey, Steve Jobs also like that, ma? They so ching chai way, ma? They also this and that. You get what I mean? So first of all, it's actually total different industry. Okay, so can you imagine if you actually go into a shop, a brand, if the people who are serving you, if the people who are attending to you, let's say you are going for a meeting, if the people wears lousily, how do you feel? Okay, this is one. Now, industry is one of the way. Okay, maybe you are also into the IT or whatever industry who doesn't really look into that. Now, actually, when we talk about why Steve Jobs is okay, he can simply dress down. That is actually an image as well. Okay, but so long it is not sloppy, it is not dirty or whatnot. How I look at it, I went to one of the training. Yeah, 80% of the participants mostly are male. None of their clothes are iron. You get what I mean? So it's not about whether you need to wear good, you need to wear the suit, not about that. At least the minimal things, ironing the clothes, you look neat, you look clean, that is actually important. Yeah, but that part is actually also something missing. But of course, all this will flow. Yeah, I saw, I don't know, Zakoba, they already have exactly. I know, even some people, how if when they first started, who knows how they look like, when they first started. And secondly, always remember, a lot of time, this group of people, let's say Steve Jobs, yeah, they are actually selling a products, not them. Of course, they themselves, they are the mastermind behind them. You try to see if you're buying an Apple product and the Apple product got problem, or the design is not okay or whatnot. So meaning to say the focus is actually different. So how I look at it, or what are the suggestion I would like to say is that look the part. Okay, look the part, whereby again is an alignment of all those things as well. Yeah.
Nice. So I want to echo Cheryl, but they already have an established brand. I know Christina, another image consultant, when this question was brought up by some young people, and that stayed with me, right? She actually showed us photos of Steve Jobs when he was struggling. He dressed the part to get the attention of the people that he needed to get his attention. So I think whoever is coaching, whoever is successful, you want to also actually see how they were pre their success, right? I think that's important to be able to look at the data appropriately, right?
Yeah.
But Wendy, I don't think I'm going to end at 1 o'clock. I'm also telling people I'm not ending at 1 o'clock because I've got a few very important questions that I think we've digged, and we need to dig deeper into this, right? Especially the bit that you said about men. So one thing that stood out for me in what you said just now is generally, whether women come in because their husbands are having affairs, or they want to look attractive, or they want to look the part, it seems like, and tell me whether I'm wrong, it seems like we are looking at personal branding, and I'm generalizing here, women, so don't throw stones at me, right? From what Wendy said and from her experience, it seems like we come into the space of image for the world. So it seems like, hey, I need to look beautiful in the way the world thinks I should be, which is either slimmer, great skin, great makeup techniques, whatever those things are, right? Clustered of that. But I'm not doing it for my fulfillment. I'm doing it because I want the world to validate me. But what you were saying about men is really interesting, and I think we need to learn this from the men. Men are coming to you to say, hey, you know what? I have moved up and I want to look the part because I want to play the part really, really well because it has an economic value for me. Right? And I can't help draw the, because men generally, again from the past, men generally, the value is very much how much money you bring in. And for the women, it's always, how much of beauty you bring in, as to like, you're this beautiful piece. And that's what it will take a while before, even though you have brains, they will look at your beauty first. Right? The compliments you get is always about the beauty. Whereas the men, you don't look at a man and say, oh my God, you look so good, right? You always like, okay, oh, look at the car he's driving, man, check it out. Right? that's that. So I'm just like, so I'm looking at the distinction. And number one, whether, I'm generalizing it, not all of them are that way, but generalizing it. And I want to connect that to how it actually impacts our well-being.
Okay. Ayo, awesome, awesome. Okay, now I couldn't actually agree more, from what you have said. A lot of time, things is difficult to change. Like it's like from generation to generation, this is how it works. Man brings money, we bring different things to the table. Now, actually, the world has changed. But unfortunately, one of the main impact that is actually killing, or threatening our well-being is also the presence or the popularity of social media. Okay, so because all this, I think these things, those days is not as strong. It's not as strong on the peer pressure that we have. On looking this and that, and those days we don't have so much of this what they call the apps that you can actually make your skin look better, slimmer and stuff like that. Okay, so those days is different. Okay, those days, yes, no, we are still talking about what you have actually just mentioned, but it will not make us really depressed, really sad, really feeling bad about ourselves. You say how, wow, the girl so nice, flat tummy, big boobs and stuff like that. But of course, because of all those technology, okay, and digital things, so especially in social media, even among our industry, people are actually like, wow, I think she is now doing better, she is now, because of this, because of it. Then the peer pressure comes in. So sometimes, a lot of people indirectly or even without they themselves realizing, they are into a mental state that is actually very disturbing. They are no longer doing things for themselves. A lot of time, if you are teaching people about looking good, gaining confidence, and yet you yourself do not have confidence when you see others are looking better. You get what I mean? So, like you see, I actually specifically looking in or liking your program is actually on how these affect our well-being. Yeah, how when we talk about actually comparing ourselves with this one, comparing ourselves with that one, or we feel that I have no business because I'm not good enough, I'm not this enough, then that is sad. In long term, I'm sure that if you are actually into the mental space, you know what's happening. Yeah.
So let's talk, let's drill a little bit into the men and women thing, right? Because men, again, I'm generalizing, right? They are unfortunately have been and will be valued for their economic value for a bit more. Because I think we're in transition now, so I'm only speaking from that perspective, right? And I'm beginning to think from what you say that men seem to be more stable about their image, right? Because internally, I know this is the value I bring in to the roles that I'm committed to. So, whether a son, first as an individual, then as a son, and if you're married, as a husband, if you have kids, as a father, right? My value, my commitment in this relationship is to bring value. And because I'm the breadwinner, I need to do this, right? And as I rise and I meet a lot of men in the top ranking, because for them their purpose is around not so much of the money or the car they drive, but what it helps them to do for the people that they love. I mean, they're horrible at expressing it, but they are doing a good job, right? I'm talking about the good men, the responsible ones, right? And so it seems like when they come to you, they know that I need to look my part so that I do the part well, because when I do that part well, I serve my purpose well. It seems to me from what you're saying, right? But that also adds a lot of pressure to their well-being, right? Because I think what we don't, the image of having to be a breadwinner, having to have everything, having not to talk about their difficulties and their pains, because they are supposed to be this strong person, right? Who has everything, right? What's your experience about men trying to hold on for all those people who are dependent on
Yes, I have one, not yet client back then. He was just my friend. Very good portfolio. He has a PhD as well. There was one day we were chit chatting, and then throughout the conversation he teared and he started crying. I was like, "Hey, what happened to you?" I scared, "Hey, what happened? Why suddenly you are crying?" Because he is actually putting up the image that he's earning a lot of money. He is great. A lot of respect gained from the colleagues, from the. So the wife or the children look up on him so much. But in fact, at the moment of time, his business was going downhill. But he still act as if he has everything. Now I find that it's actually very funny. Women tends to vent out. We vent all the time. Of course we feel good about that. But for men, to them, the ego and pride is so important. It's like very expensive. Even if you ask, let's say for example, if our spouse have problem at work or in the business, they will still say okay. Yeah, they will actually try to actually make you feel like they are still good, they are still men, they can still protect the family,
that.
and
Right.
stuff. So I find that it's actually very pity. I am just an outsider, and this is one of my long lost friend that we are just catching up, and all of a sudden he cannot tahan it and burst. But he rather actually do this in front of a person that is actually not very close, than the close friends or the friends and family that are looking up on them. Yeah. So this is sad. This is sad. So how can this happen? Yeah, but of course, and the worst part is that he is a business strategist, and he cannot take it like me myself as a strategist on taking business or doing training for others, helping others business, but he cannot help his own business. Yeah.
Wow. It's funny because I've been hearing quite a number of stories like that, but I can say that even I have difficulty telling my closest people that when I'm not okay, because I think their reaction actually makes it difficult for me not to be okay. Right? Because I find that because people have created or believe in an image of who I am, so-called emotionally intelligent. So when I appear vulnerable or weak, people associate that to not being emotionally intelligent. It's like, a doctor or a nutritionist who is consuming junk food, and
Yeah.
and sometimes people closest to you don't get it because they are so anchored in what they were attracted to in the first place, right? So
Yeah.
I would say that I understand that, because I find the most difficult people to tell when I'm not okay are the people closest to me, because sometimes even when I say I'm not okay, they don't get it. They just don't get it, because what they want you to do is quickly pick up the pace and say, tell me you're okay, because it's their discomfort that we are dealing with. I've come to recognize that it's not my problem, because it's they are uncomfortable to see me vulnerable. And
Yeah.
so I have found it easier to talk to people who are not all that in the closest circle, who don't have that expectation of you to be
Yeah.
in a particular way all the time. So that's my experience, right? So
Experience.
going back to men, so we've done the men, and we know that there's a lot of burden around them, which I think is really unfair, especially when we're talking about equal rights. But men have to grow up in their own time if they want to look after themselves, because whether we like it or not, mental health, depression, suicide is higher among men than women,
Yes.
because you need to consistently keep up this strong image and be that pillar of strength for the whole world that depends on you. And I think women are beginning to get there too, because women are becoming breadwinners. Women are contributing more. So I think women, I find that women, we are beginning to behave like men. I need to be strong. I don't want to show. I don't want to tell you I'm not okay. And stuff like that. So we're getting there. I don't know whether it's good or bad, but I think we are going to have the numbers up. But talking about the last thing, right, which is the image of women, why women feel that when they come, they need to look good, not for themselves, but you know, uh, the idea is I want the world to validate how good looking I am, how great my brand presence is, right? I think that damage is a lot more than perhaps what men might be experiencing. It's damage for both, but I think for the women, there's like a deeper thing, because you don't even have self worth for who you are,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And how have you seen that impacting women's well being in general?
Okay. The first one I want to talk about is the word validate. Yes, we don't actually need a validation from others, but unfortunately, it seems that it's happening. Okay. The Actually, the peer pressure is not only from the men though, and a lot of time the peer pressure from women is killing as well. You know, there was one time I attended one of the session, a conference in India. So the professor, she is actually a woman. When she talk about gender equality and stuff like that, sometimes it's not the men that kill us. We are
Mm,
killed by another woman.
mm, mm,
That is the saddest thing. People will say that women help women, but in fact, a lot of time we are actually hurt and killed by another woman. Okay, so this one is another one. And sometimes the peer pressure is that I want to do better than you. I want to be better. Even let's say, for example, back to the topic that we talk about, affair. Okay, still it is actually you're fighting against another woman though. You get what I mean or not? So it's not so only about men, and but on both genders as well. And the damage, yeah, and you see, depending on how much a person cope with it. I know that moving into aesthetic and things like that is common. I know this is a common thing, but whether or not this is necessary is another question that we have to ask before we do.
right.
Okay. Yeah, I was once, I was once struggling as well, as in like, because I'm actually into this industry. Actually, all my friends are, when we are seated together, this is the topic that we talk about. Looking good lah, you fat lah, you slim down lah, how what skincare you use lah, why your skin like that, why my skin not like that lah, you know, all the time. And even sometimes, they thought what I'm the point of reference like that. People want to go, which doctor is good and stuff like that. So there was one time I was struggling, and even I have good friends like keep on eating slimming pills, and doing a lot of
Mm.
stuff. To me, this is self-damaging. So I sometimes I geram, I very geram. But then, you know what I say? Oh, you look good. Of course, you say like that, lah. You slim,
No,
of course you say.
correct. Yeah. I agree with them.
Yeah. They say you are born like that. But I just want to tell them, I was once very big as well. Like, I was once having all these things. I was like the emotion, actually was once overpower me before that. I'm actually useless, I'm fat, I'm stupid. And I had that moment before. Of course, how we actually pull ourselves up. Because there was one time one of my friends, she's a bit actually she's not fat, she's just a bit chubby, very curvy like in a way.
Mm.
So she is one of a very, very good friend of mine. So I've been seeing her torturing herself, eating all sorts of different kind of pills, yeah. So there was one day I told her, why you need to do that. And of course it affect our relationship a bit. And she said, definitely you say like that, Wendy, because you're slim. Have
No,
you ever
no.
put in my shoes? So of course there's conversation we had, right? We even cried, and I said, because I love you. I don't want to see you suffering, just because chasing after something that is not necessary.
Mm.
If this is your true friends, if your husband love you, they will accept you as who you are.
Mm.
You know what I mean? If you are my
Mm.
good friends, regardless what's your size, your shapes and stuff like that, I still love you.
Mm.
You get what I mean?
Yeah.
Even your client, if you are so good, if you are doing your well positioning, if you have here, if you know how to portray what you can bring, the value that you can bring onto the table, people will come to you.
Nice.
So
Nice.
actually, when you do all these things, yeah, you are actually not helping, but in long run, we are actually hurting ourselves. We are damaging ourselves. You will get very tired because the things that I asked my friend, so what after you slim down, like
Mm.
she's not a pretty, lor. So
Mm.
I said, so what after you're pretty? You're already married, what? Why you want to so pretty? But
Don't say that. I still want to be pretty when
I
after I'm married.
know because to her, okay, after some time, actually the husband didn't say a thing. What? She keep comparing on the people. You see that? You see in picture.
So it's the internal low self-image, that
Yes,
self-worth that you're holding, and you're
exactly.
holding a picture that if I get here, my worth will increase, and I think that's the problem,
Yes,
right? If
yes,
I get there, so the idea of image, personal branding, and self-worth has a lot to do with, do I really, number one, know my worth, and how do I project my worth to the services that I'm providing and show up. And that showing up is really how personal branding and image comes together, is what I'm getting from you. Because, like, how much do you want to do this, right? And do it for yourself, not for the world, right?
yes,
Not for anybody, right? I mean,
yes,
even for the men, not for your job, but for who you really, really are. And of course, Gerald is always saying, love yourselves, and if you love yourself, that's enough. The best validation is from ourselves. We know ourselves best. But I will counter Gerald here, because I think the reason we do all of this is, unfortunately, there are not many people who know themselves best, because the image that we have ourselves and the image that the world experiences of us, if it is different, then there is some space for growth there, right? Because I think whenever we are overconfident about knowing ourselves, it can be challenging when we are getting echoes that's different. But I totally agree that, the first best validation, self-love and self-acceptance, and comes from self-worth. All right, we are at 120, which is like far beyond Wendy. I can't believe you did this to me, but you know what? I don't care. I'm going to ask you the rapid fire question, right?
okay,
I'm just going to read what Cheryl has said. Everyone has their insecurities, I feel, regardless of your size, color, shape, position. But we must remember to value ourselves every day. Yeah, in the self-esteem work that we do, Cheryl, when we talk about the 6 pillars, right? our self-worth, our self-esteem is not a destination, but is a state of being, right? It's a state of being, and the more we stay in the state of being, it becomes our trait, right? So self-esteem can be a state or a trait. But before it becomes a trait of ours, we need to make sure we stay in that space of state more often. So that's just to counter Cheryl. Are you ready for your rapid fire, darling?
Yes.
Aha. All right. So being me in personal branding. Finish the sentence.
Being me is authenticity.
See, not so difficult. Being whole in image means
Complete.
nice. Well, yeah, this one passing with flying colors. I need to think of more difficult questions for you. When image and personal branding comes together, what happens?
Top of mind.
Wow. Short and sweet. I am the best role model for.
As a mother, as an entrepreneur, and as a friend. If you are my friend, if I find that you are my best friend, I will love you forever.
Whoa. Are you ready for this? Faking your branding leads to.
Damaging your brand.
Wow, nice. All right. So thank you very much. I'm going to give you 30 seconds if you have a question for me.
God. Wait.
Hey, only one, huh? It's my show. Only one question.
How will you say image in an emotional intelligence way?
Image for me is being home with myself.
Wow. Okay. Love
I
this.
asked, yes. Yeah. Oh, that was a nice. Thank you. I love the question. Yeah. So yeah, it's when I'm home, my image, my personal branding, my all together. But I'm not there. I'm not at home all the time. That's the problem. All right, Wendy, thank you so much for the time. I hope you enjoyed this session. I enjoyed it.
Yes.
So much. Looks like we have to do part 2, part 3, part 4, part 5, part 6. I'll connect with you how we're going to do all of these parts for so many nuggets. Love you. Wishing you all the best. And you just did a TED Talk, didn't you?
Yes.
So we have had Dr. Wendy, who has also just done a TED Talk, and when it's up, we'll put it up. Follow her. Her links will be up here, and she's really one of the dearest friends that we are very, very grateful to have met. So with that, signing off, Wendy, is there anything else you want to say before I get you off the screen and be Wayne again and have the whole screen to myself?
Not really. So just let's connect it. Yeah, I'm sure that we will attract back the like-minded, like birds of same feather always flock together.
Yeah, thank you. So all the birds who are the same feather, your way, and you want to be really, be home with yourself, connect with the Dr. Wendy, stay with us through our sessions and keep, encouraging us. So thank you, Dr. Wendy. As I get her off the screen and have the screen to myself, I want to thank everybody, for who has been supporting us, on a weekly basis. And signing off, this is Malar from Hearts and Minds Development Center. And until I see you next week at 12 o'clock, stay safe, stay beautiful as you are, and look into the mirror and know that you're wonderful. Next week, we have a very important topic on women and the importance of confinement and how it impacts well-being of our children for life. So next week, if you're going to be a father, or someone you love who is going to be a mother, it's time to tune in, because we're going to look at the science behind the importance of why confinement is a sacred time to build the well-being of the lives that we bring into this world. So with that, thank you. This is Mother signing off. See you next week. Bye.